Hey, you guys. Okay, so this is sort of an unplanned live because I went live last night and somehow that conversation, well, not somehow, um, I have white people that come to this channel. Some come here because I have a lot of conservative talking points. Some come here because I do panels on like integrationist pages. So there will be white people there. And so they might come over from those pages. And so yesterday I was doing a live on twerking. And so one of the white people, her name is Carly, that comes here to my channel. She's been coming here for a while, like for a while. She's been coming to my channel. I haven't had a channel for long, but she's been coming for most of the time I've had a channel. And so every now and again, she likes to pop in the chat. Hey, Kemet God. Hello, Tyreesh and Raven. So she pops in every now and again. And so she popped in yesterday. And during the conversation, she was talking about, because I was talking about how Black people can't move around the world as the same way white people do. Like white people, when they do things, and if we do the same thing, the results are not going to be equal. And so Carly was saying, you know, I'm not a racist and this and that. Nobody was attacking her, but she was just like speaking her piece. And so yesterday I started to get into white allies. So that video's not up. I was about to put it up and just let it play through, but I was concerned that the conversation about white allies would get lost and I didn't really have it super thorough. So today I wanted to talk about if white people can be our allies, and if so, like, what does that look like? And what does that not look like? And so, hi, Amarique. And so with that in consideration, let me just delve into it. So white allies. There are white people who don't believe themselves to be racist. And I'm not going to say all white people are just evil from jump. A lot of white people, they feel very strongly that they want to do something good. The problem is white people like to determine what being an ally to Black people, what that looks like. And typically white people who consider themselves allies to Black people, there's a couple of things they like to do. One, they try to say things like they don't see color, right? They don't care about color, which is the worst possible thing you could say. Dude, you need to see color, because if you don't see color, you're not going to see these colorful problems that Black people are having. Like, you're not going to see it if your attitude is, I just don't see color. Two, there's another group of white people who feel that they can have a talking point where they address other white people, but they don't want to address other white people in the appropriate way. I'll get to that last. Then we have white people who think the best solution is to just deny, 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 and just move past it and not discuss it anymore. They're pretty dangerous. And I've been on panels with white people like this. You know, I told this story last night. I was on Brother Sanchez's panel, and I love Brother Sanchez. I love him. So he's an integrationist. He has an integrationist panel, obviously. So there are whites and Blacks there. And we were having a conversation about racism. And of course, you know, race is a social construct. If you've ever talked to integrationists, you know the talking points, like race is a social construct, da 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 da. And I was like, sure, race is a social construct, but you knowing that and I knowing that's not going to change the way the world is working. So social construct or not, it's effectually being used against Black people globally. So the white man on the panel, he goes, why can't we just move past this? I mean, we don't know who started the concept of race. I was like, we don't know who started the concept of race? Because your people are taking credit for it. Like, white people are taking credit for starting the concept of race. I'm pretty sure at every school they teach Darwinism, they teach evolutionary theory, and I'm almost positive that Darwin learned from other Europeans the basis for his theory, and that his book had the words preferred races in the title. Is this just me? Are white people not single-handedly, literally taking credit for the creation of race? So I'm sitting on a panel with this white man, and I'm like, you're not an ally. If being an ally with you means we have to pretend history didn't happen, you're really racist and you just don't know it. And all these other Black people can sit here and pretend like you're not literally full of shit, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend you're not full of shit. So with that said, that brings me to the third type of racist. The third type of racist is people like Robin DiAngelo. You know, she's the one who came up with the concept of white fragility. And these type of racists, sort of like the one, you know, Yvette Carnell and them, the little kind of kooky white chick. I did a video on her here on this channel. You got to watch that video. It's called The White Woman is God. So I have a video called The White Woman is God. And I do a video on that Democratic nominee, you know, Oprah's spiritual guidance therapist or whatever she is, and how she's just a kook. She's like one of these kooky allies where she likes to pray over Black people and have hordes of white people apologize to them. Robin DiAngelo is like her. She comes up with the idea of white fragility. She likes to go out of her way to apologize to Black people all the time. But she's a racist. And she's not as much of an ally as she thinks, because her whole concept of dealing with white people deals with not telling them they're bad people. Well, you don't want to tell them they're bad people. You want to make it seem like you're perfectly innocent, but you just can't help being this way. So let's just address it really sweetly kind of conversation. And I think that is the problem. I think what a white ally looks like is a person who's going to check their coding it. That's the only type of ally we can have. I don't need to hear you're not a racist. I don't need to hear you don't see color. I don't need you to apologize to me or do weird crap like pray over me. I don't need you to get into a group and tell me how you're sorry your people hurt my people. Like, talk is cheap. I don't need any of that. That's not an ally. That's not a white ally. A white ally is you fight your people. Be passionate about fighting your people. Don't deny anything. So all white people didn't own slaves. See, these are white ally talking points, right? The white ally talking points and racist whites, like overtly racist white talking points, are very similar. But my family didn't own slaves. We don't agree with that. We don't agree with that. I don't care that your family didn't own slaves. Most white people's families didn't own slaves. If that's the freaking rule, we would all be kumbayaing right now. So clearly it's not about if your people in your family own slaves or not, because y'all were sure acquiescent to the system. You were definitely acquiescent to what was going on, just like you're acquiescent now. You would rather sit here and tell me about how you don't see skin color. And, you know, Carly did something cute in the chat. You know, a pencil is black and the paper is white, and together we write a pretty story or something. That's cute. But that's not going to help my situation. You sitting here trying to pretend like if we just stop using the words white and black, and if we just ignore reality, eventually, if we all ignore it for long enough, it'll disappear. No, that's not how life works. So when I think about so-called white allies, you need to be fighting your people. That's the only type of ally you can be. We don't even need to hold a conversation, because honestly, you have nothing to say to me. The only people you ever need to talk to are other white people. Go talk to them. Hold a conversation with some other white people. Check them. Go organize and get together. And all those, you know, Europeans who are over off of the Indian coast, raping and drugging those little black girls of the tribe, you know, after they have their little human safari off the coast of India. Why don't you guys get together, disband PETA, and get together and reorganize and go attack those white people? Go protest those human safaris where they're looking at Black people like animals. Why don't you guys, instead of fixating on Trump's butt, why don't you guys get together and go fixate on groups of your own people? Why don't you get together and tell them to pull Darwinism out of the schools because it's a racist ass theory? That the idea of 5 races is built on racism so that white people could categorize everybody else and put themselves at the top. Where's that pushback? I mean, a white ally is not a person that stays in Black people's faces all the time. What work are you doing in my face? I'm not the problem. I'll talk to Black people. You go talk to white people. I don't need you coming around here trying to, soothe your ego, trying to soothe your guilt and apologize for crap. Your apology doesn't mean anything. What does an apology do? Somebody slaps you in the face. I'm sorry. 13 people slap you in the face, and the one person who didn't slap you wants to tell you they feel that was wrong and they're sorry. No, that's not going to help me. Go slap all those people that slapped me in the face. That's helpful. Go check the people who hit me. That's helpful. So I think that's what being a white ally looks like. The reality is no one cares about things that don't concern them. Taylor, that I think is often true, but here's the thing. You already have these white people pretending to care. So when faced with a white person who's already decided that they're going to pretend to care, this is how you could quickly get them to help them know themselves. Just let them know straight up. You don't have to tell me any of that. That's actually what Cassandra did in the chat. She was like, you don't have to tell me you're not a racist. I don't need you to talk to me at all. If you care so much and you're so much not a racist, go talk to some other white people. Help them get their minds right. Go petition a cause and you white people get together and fight each other on my behalf. That's an ally. Anything other than that is you just playing games. You're just over here playing around, being silly, being ridiculous, treating me like I'm stupid. Go smack another white person on my behalf. That's an ally to me. Anything barring that is not going to work. Oh, thank you, Greg. That's very kind. Emblematic said, allies assumes there is a common cause for a mutually desired outcome. What is that mutually desired outcome? Can Black people and white people have the same end goal? That is a very good question. Obviously, for me, right? So if I'm talking about a white person coming to me and saying that they're an ally, the only way that we personally can end this system, because, critical race theorists believe that racism will never end. And the only way racism can end is if white people no longer are the dominant power. So there has to be a usurping and replacement of authority. Hopefully with Black people who haven't felt like they need to turn into white people to usurp that authority, because we run the risk of that, right? We run the risk of becoming like them to overthrow them. And then we'll just be black-skinned white people in power. But for me, your goal needs to be to recognize that your people don't know what they're doing. Your people don't know what they're doing. Your people can't be trusted to do anything. And so you need to be about this work, helping to get your people out of power. If you recognize what they did is wrong, and I recognize what your people did is wrong, the only thing we need to talk about is how to remove them and replace them with somebody nothing like them. And so that would be the mutual goal. But like I said, that's why I feel like white allies are far and few between, because you can't even have an honest conversation. That's like the first step. The first step is, can we be real about this without you getting offended? Can we have a real conversation without you getting offended, or without you feeling that excluding yourself because you're not that kind of white person? This is a conversation that doesn't need to be had. They do a lot of flip-flopping. That's true. They are big flip-floppers. If white people want to be allies to Black society, let them go back to their communities and start turning in all white supremacists in their neighborhood. Exactly, Great Black Shark. That's what I'm talking about. Like, you know, on the BART system in the Bay Area, kind of, I think they do this at airports too. They ask people to tell on each other if you see anything suspicious. See, if all these white people weren't racist, because you know that's what white people who consider themselves allies will say is most of us don't feel like that. Most of us don't feel like that. Well, then most of you need to get together, like Great Black Shark was saying, and start rounding up the racists. Round them up. Get your little pitchforks together and go hunt down these racists for us. Gather them into one place. That's an ally. See, that's an ally. But they're not about that. They're not about to do that. See, that would be too much like actually being an ally. And that's why I say white allies are far and few between. They like to pretend. And why are they pretending to be allies is the real question. Why do they pretend to be our allies? To disarm us and to convert Black people into integrationists, because let's just be real, when we have white people in our families, when we have white grandparents and things like that, it is harder for us to take a hardline stance on this. But see, the thing is, what you have to realize is if those white people are really down for Black people, you don't need to worry about them. We're not like white people. We're not going to massacre all white people on earth. See, white people do stuff like that. I feel like white people fear a real alliance with Black people because they think we're going to do what their people did. They think we're going to kill off their people, completely annihilate whole groups of their people so that there's zero left. And so what they really want is for us to stop complaining. That's what the modern day white ally really wants. Please just stop talking about this. Please just stop complaining. Let's pretend it's all good. I'll be nice to you and you just accept that as good enough. I know, when I was on that panel, everybody's attitude was just like, well, nobody needs to make amends. We just need to move on. I was like, well, that's a nice concept. Just imagine if somebody bashed your face into a wall and you're all bloody and bruised, nose broken, jaw dislocated. And while you're sitting there bleeding with a broken nose and dislocated jaw, they go, you know what? This was wrong. Let's just not talk about it anymore and move forward. What? You don't get to tell me to move forward. No, we're going to deal with all this damage you did to me first. We're going to address this crap. When I beat your face into a wall and dislocate your jaw, we'll talk about moving forward. But you don't tell me, the person who got the beating, that it's time for us to move forward. But see, these are the kinds of conversations, and this is why they pretend to be allies, because that's really the talking point of white allies. And if you listen close to integrationists and the Black people who have bought into this, right? Now, again, I don't care who you date. I don't care what you're doing. Like, I don't care. I'm just saying when you buy into the integrationist lie that in order to move forward past this stage, Black people have to not hold a grudge. Are you serious? You burned down my house and the only way we can move forward is for me to not hold a grudge? You don't have to be held accountable. I just need to not hold a grudge. I'm the one that's holding us back. That's how integrationists think. That's why you can't have an honest conversation with them, because this is not about honest conversations. This is about you agreeing to not hold a grudge against their fuckery. In all honesty, Great Black Shark said, if any of the dominant society wish to be allies to Black people, let them propose laws to punish those they know who are racist. He said, we need to see Nuremberg trial justice. I completely agree. Can there be white allies? Sure, but they're not about to do it. That little governor that was caught either in blackface or a KKK uniform, or we don't know which one, because it was a costume he was wearing. The little, former KKK Grand Wizard who put up a memorial to Martin Luther King. How is that possible? How are we accepting his memorial? No, I don't want a memorial from you. Round your people up. When they step out of line, round them up the way you go to Black communities and round up our people. I want to see some mass white incarceration. And we'll talk about allies. All these liberals and Democrats and stuff trying to act and pretend like they love everybody. You don't love everybody. You love these white Mexicans that are coming over here. I see you're throwing on capes and leaping over buildings for them. Ready to take all kinds of people to jail, breaking all kinds of laws. I'm going to need some of that energy for Black people. And we'll talk about white allies. Until that happens, we have no white allies. Zero. Great Black Shark is right. King Quest Oz said, white people are complicit in institutionalized racism regardless of their political affiliation. Truth. Truth. That one, during the crack years, when the CIA was trying to tear down the Black community, that 1 to 100 sentencing ratio was unanimously held by both Democrats and Republicans. Unanimously held. And here's the other reason why white people try to pretend to be allies, because then they can claim that all the problems are because of class, because of socioeconomic status, and not because you're Black. Because see, if they're all pretending like they don't care about our skin color, then it can't be the skin color that is the cause of these issues. It has to be because we're poor. And then you can't call them out on overt racism that is definitely designed to target Black people. The fact that a few people who aren't Black get caught up in these shenanigans is irrelevant when they know that it's targeting our people. I agree, Kemet God, they are the last people to say get over it. Oh my gosh, Taylor said, I remember when a white guy told Leo Muhammad, if someone did that to me, I would want to get revenge. And his response was, thank God Black people don't think like white people. That's so true. Here's the thing. We have our humanity going for us, right? The stuff that white people do, most Black people aren't going to get down like that. This has also been our downfall. We have groups of people like the Moors, the Hebrew Israelites. I literally don't want to trigger you guys. You guys know I love you. We have Black people who want to fight back in some way. Fight back in some way. Let's use the Moors as an example. The Moorish people want to fight back in some way. They want to kind of push back against the system in some way. But see, they're not ready they're not ready for anything to run red in the street, right? They're not down to do all that. Now they'll drive around without a license and a license plate. They'll sit there and squat in the house. But see, at the end of the day, let's say the Moorish people are completely right in everything they say. At the end of the day, it's going to come a time where even if you are completely right, these people aren't going to let you just do what you want to do. It's going to come to fisticuffs. So I feel like a lot of times when we're too afraid to do what needs to be done, we start locking onto these little side movements so we can feel that we're pushing back in some kind of way. Because Black people don't think like white people. You know, there's a book, I was talking about this over on Gab's channel when I was on his panel yesterday. There's a book, so I have a video on my channel set that's called White Doctor Tells the Truth. And it's a publication from a medical journal here in the United States from back in the 1800s. And in a published medical journal, y'all, this is like real history. He starts detailing how if Black people ever try to compete with the upper echelon of white people, we will suffer the same fate as the natives of the Americas. And you know what they did to the natives? They slaughtered them all. In a published medical journal. This is what this doctor was saying, talking about how they'll pet and care for certain Black people, but that does not translate to all Black people. In a published medical journal for doctors in America. So if you haven't seen that video, if I have time, I will put that like in the description box of this video after I'm done. Go watch that video. I put a link to the book. It's obviously it's an old book. So it's a folio from a legitimate library. Like this isn't, you know, I don't put scammy stuff on my channel. It's a legit book. This is how white people talk to each other before they started to pretend that they don't think these things. So you're right. They're grateful we don't think like them because we wouldn't. Let me tell you something. When they obliterated the Tasmanians, because you know the Tasmanians are gone, they're all dead. Okay, white people made quick work of the Tasmanians. Within 80 years, there were 0 Tasmanians left. For every one white person, because see, the Tasmanians, they were going to fight back. For every one white person that the Tasmanians killed, they killed 50 Tasmanians. It was 50, I'm pretty sure. In contrast, when the leader of Black First Land First was speaking out against a private military being threatened, like Black people being threatened by a private military, he was only willing to kill 7 white people for every 1 Black person. They're willing to do 50, we're only willing to do 7. The difference between his speech and what went on in Tasmania is they made good on that and they killed all the Tasmanians. In recent history, like in the past 10 years, the Great Andaman tribe tried to fight white people when they came and tried to come to their island. And how many of the Andamans do you think are left? This is just in the past 10 years. Just in the past 10 years, literally the last member of their tribe just died not that long ago. They killed them all. This is like recent history. They killed every last one of them. There are none of them left. None of them left. They are all dead. There was one surviving woman and she died. And they're all gone now. That's how white people function. Like, try us if you want. We will kill you all. And in a published medical journal here in the United States, that is what is said. I'm quoting what they said in their medical journals here in our country. We have to consider that. So you're right, we don't think like them. Not even a little bit. Vladimir said the ironic, oh, what's up, Vladimir, by the way? Long time no see. Vladimir said the ironic common thread between critical race theory and ethno-nationalists is that the easiest answer is separation. You know, I did a debate with over critical race theory. I think it's here on this channel, maybe. I did that with my man. I'm with critical race theory. I just hate the idea of saying that racism is a permanent fixture, because this mess is not permanent. There's a group of people who feel like, I was on a panel and even somebody was saying that in one of the comment sections of my other videos today, that if they really wanted to hold us down and they really wanted to do something, there's nothing we could do to fight back. I'm going to need us to lose that mindset. I'm going, like, this is what watching too much TV and being too indoctrinated will get you. It'll have your mind thinking that even if we were to try, we would fail. So why try? Why try to better our situation? Because even if we try, we're not a match. What I would say to that is, if they could get away with it, they would have already done it. Trust and believe. But there's too many billions of people on this earth. There's not enough weapons and nukes to go around without destroying themselves too. We have to think smart. Sometimes it's not about what the other person has going for them. Can they use that? Sometimes it's not about brute force. Do you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's not about brute force. Somebody small and quick and precise can overcome somebody who has strength on their side. Because everything's not about brute force. Some things are about being cunning and clever, pragmatic and wise. That's why I was saying on that video yesterday, we cannot move about this world the way that they move about this world. We have to be really wise in what we do. It's essential. More Info TV said, Neely Fuller Jr. says having sexual contact with a white person creates confusion amongst blacks. Neely Fuller Jr. would have us doing nothing. But I can't lie. When I did my commentary on twerking, and some people were saying maybe she was just happy and celebrating. Did you guys hear about that? The woman who was twerking at her son's graduation. So I did a commentary on that last night. And I was like, what the freaking hell is she so happy for? Why are we twerking and celebrating? I can understand Neely Fuller Jr. on that. What are we celebrating for in this climate? What are you so happy about? That's the problem. Everybody's too happy and comfortable. We need to get unhappy and uncomfortable so that we want to do some work. Because as long as you're feeling fat and full and comfortable and happy, you don't want to do anything. You have no motivation to do anything. You have to be hungry and angry. You have to be thirsty to want to do something. Otherwise, you're not going to want to do anything at all. But Neely Fuller Jr. is a mess, y'all, because, you know, he gets way off into left field. Like his conversation cracks me up. Like I'm with half of what he's saying and the other half, I'm like, he's just doing the absolute most in life. Okay, he's doing the most. Killer of White Supremacy said, I can't show your comment because you're, oh, they let your name through? Okay, well then hell. It says, I have white friends, but they will never give up their white privilege. No, they will never give up their, and people who think that we can use, like so many Black people feel like, oh, we can, if we just pull our resources, we can lobby and we can buy our way in. Y'all, we cannot buy our way in. Do you really think that this is how this works? Do you think that the way this works is if we just come up with enough money, they're going to let us purchase our way into power over them? In real life, like that's absolutely delusional. That is delusional. Now, I'm not saying like vote if you want to vote. You know, I won't knock it. But I'm just saying like coming up with cash is not going to let us buy our way into power. They'll say, well, this group did it, that group did it, that group's not Black. You're forgetting the Black part of this life. If you put an Asian, a Mexican, and a Black person in front of a 3-year-old and ask them which one of these people is different, who are they going to pick? The Black person. How come a 3-year-old would know that, but we, full-on adults, we don't know that? It doesn't matter what the Italians did. It doesn't matter what the Irish did. It doesn't matter what the Mexicans are doing right now, these white Mexicans, because it's only for white Mexicans that they're caping. They're not caping for these Black Mexicans. They're not caping for these Black South Americans. What is different about them than us? Is it money? No, that's not the difference. What is that comedian? He said they have the complexion for the protection. Because one of these things is not like the other. Like, I think so many of our people, because it makes us uncomfortable to say it, because when we say it, we see it through the lens of their eyes. So if I say that these problems are because of the color of my skin, and I look around me and the whites are one color and the Asians are the same color as them, and a great deal of the Hispanic population is also white, if I make it about that, then I'm going to stick out as a sore thumb in my own mind. And we tend to look at that as if that means something is wrong with being Black. No, that means something is wrong with them, not us. There's nothing wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with our skin. There's nothing wrong with us. There's something wrong with them. But I think because we don't view it that way a lot of the time, then what we want to do is we want to make it like there's all these other problems, and the problem is literally not the color of our skin. So we want to say the problem is not enough money. The problem is not enough education. The problem is we're not getting married enough. Now, I'm not against getting money. I'm not against being educated. I'm not against being married and having two-parent households. But those are not the problem, like the root problem. That's not the root of the problem. So we could throw, reefs and butterflies and stickers all over this thing, but that's not going to solve what the bones of it are. We have to get down to the bones and then break into the bone and get to the marrow. And that marrow is racism. But I think that makes a lot of people uncomfortable to say that. We also have Blacks that acquiesce to white supremacists. So I hate the term white supremacy because there's nothing supreme about them. But what I will say is this. What I will say is, getting back to the white allies thing, the same way that Blacks are acquiescent and allies to white people, you know how they weaponize Black people against us? Here's the thing. They don't have that many Black people that they can really use, but they get the ones that they can that will sell out to them. And they put them in front of us on media, in music, in all these areas to influence us, because they know that we trust other Black people. For all this talk about we don't trust each other, we trust each other. That's why they always use Black people to talk to us. There was this conversation, and I think B1 gave this to me. He sent me a little clip of two African, or maybe it wasn't B1 actually. One of my subscribers sent me a clip of two African spiritualists talking about how homosexuality was common in African culture and accepted. So you guys can go watch that video because it's like African spirituality and homosexuality or something like that. So me, you can't just put two Black people with an African accent in front of me and have me think anything. First of all, what the frick is African spiritualism? What is that? I'm not trying to knock you guys that practice it, but is Africa like one giant monolithic place? Are there not different types of spirituality throughout Africa? So I don't even vibe with the idea of African spiritualism because I don't know what that is. I wasn't aware that all of Africa had one type of spiritualism. I was not aware. But more importantly, the woman there, the Black woman in this clip, she was trying to make it like this was an accepted thing, but at the same time saying that they were ostracized. So it wasn't that accepted if they're being ostracized to the point where they have to not live among regular people, is what she was saying. And the brother was looking at her like, oh, I don't know about all this. So when it was his turn to talk, he was like, I don't know about all that. I'm not going to say that every gay person, is the same thing as these unique, people in African spiritualism. That's not every gay person, right? He's like, I feel like being gay is more a trend now. Those people were rare and far and few between when we talk about Africa. But here's the kicker. I was like, oh, this is an interesting little conversation. I could see some people being fooled by this. So I looked at the network that was airing it. Go watch the video because I go through the whole thing with you guys on the video. I looked at the network that was airing it and who owned the network and who was in charge of the programming. And do you know it led to a German man who was in the news because he wouldn't let the reporters report the things they wanted? They had to get clearance from him or his direct lackeys under him for all news reporting. So this is a white person pushing their Greco-Roman agenda on a station that purports itself to be an African station where they put black faces in front of you to say the things that they want you to believe. So here we'll have a bunch of African spiritualists see this interview and go, oh my gosh, these two Africans are talking about homosexuality is acceptable on the continent. And it has been historically. And little do you know that there's a German man who one of his top level black female employees outed for manipulating the content on that station to fit his agenda. Like this, I couldn't make this up. I cannot make this up. Go watch the video. The receipts are on the video. So this is what I'm talking about. They use our people against us all the time. So could we have a handful of white people we could weaponize against them? I mean, yeah. But see, the problem is that they have an advantage because they can offer our people something we can't offer white people. And that's a little bit of power. A little bit of recognition. A white person that helps us black people in the current state that we're in, all that we can offer them is an opportunity to redeem whatever little bit is left of their soul. We can't offer them anything else, which is why I think it's far and few between that we'll be able to have a white ally. Hey, Dark Prophet. Hey, One Love. Hello, Tyrone. They have committed numerous genocides throughout history. They really have. And they're committing genocide now. I think it's really important, and that's why I keep stressing it, that we recognize that right now they are committing genocide. Right now. Like I said, in the past 10 years, multiple groups of Black people have been completely killed, as in there are 0 members of their societies left. It's something that I go into on my Decolonize video. They do love animals. That's true. White people love them some animals. That's why I said disband PETA and put together an organization to get your people in check. Great Black Shark said, the North I can't see, you know I can't say it. Sentinelese, thank you. I just have to say it slowly, are free not because of numbers or technology, but because they have a code. I agree with that. We have to be on code. Killer of White Supremacy said, they give you access to sex with them, but not access to wealth and resources. Well, Cynthia G would always argue that they give you access to their women because if the man has money, they can siphon that wealth. So that there is a transference of wealth, but the transference of wealth is in most cases not to the Black community. It's not beneficial to the Black community. Taylor Said ADOS think that we're really going to get reparations. If that was even possible, we wouldn't have to discuss it or vote for someone. Oh my gosh, reparations and ADOS. Okay, so the divisionary tactics between the diaspora, that mess I'm not with. I don't care about us calling ourselves ADOS. I'm ADOS. I don't care. We could call ourselves that. Cubans call themselves Cubans. Dominicans call themselves Dominicans, so on and so forth. Ethiopians call themselves Ethiopians. We're still all black. So I don't care about us having our own special name. Like if we could call ourselves anything, I'll go with it. If y'all want, if you guys like it, I will do it. Like we could call ourselves anything you like. It doesn't matter to me. But where I cringe inside is that I'm not about to ask you for anything. I was listening to Yvette Carnell talk and she was like, da 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 da, or we're not going to get these white people to give us anything. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I don't want to position myself to have to pander to them to get crap. That's a problem. That's a problem in your mindset right there. This pandering game, like the pandering part, I can't get with. I'm going to need us to get on a different page. Like we want to do everything but what needs to be done. We want to do everything but what needs to be done. We want to beg. We want to vote. We want to try to purchase. We want to make excuses. We want to pretend it's not going on. We want to be in a delusion. We want to call ourselves anything but black. We want to, we want to anything but what needs to be done. Am I saying that we are not owed reparations? Oh no, we're owed reparations. But those reparations need to be more than a check. I'm going to get some reparations, but it's not going to be the sort of reparations a lot of people are thinking of. We're going to repair something. But see, people are focused on the wrong thing. First of all, what do you want with their funky money anyway? Monetary systems become defunct all the time. Why do we want access to engross ourselves more in a vile system? What is going on with repairing and replacing the system? Remaking a system, a new system, different system, new game board. I don't want the money from the old game board. But I understand that, if we're not going to do that, then maybe you got to go beg and try to get something, whether it's owed to you or not. Like I said, when they pulled out that little kooky white chick, just go watch my The White Woman is God video. When they entertained that kooky little backward white girl like she was about to do something for black people, I was like, is this what we're doing? We're just going to have conversations with any white person that claims they're going to give us reparations? This broad is praying over black people, and black people are screaming at the top of their lungs in her church and having emotional breakdowns and stuff, and this is the broad that we're going to talk to? I don't think so. That was a real get out moment. Did you guys see that? Like, how many of you guys saw The White Woman is God video? That was like literally from the movie Get Out. That black woman had a nervous breakdown. All these white people surrounding her, praying over her. She had a breakdown. And Yvette Carnell and Tone Talks are interviewing this nut job. All because she said something about reparations. Like, no. That really made me mad. That's why I made that video. I was like, these shenanigans must stop. Okay? Every white person is not God. Every white person that remotely acts like they like us, we don't have to stick our tongue all the way up their anal cavity. That's not necessary. It's really not necessary. I'm sorry, that enraged me so much. When I found out what kind of weird stuff that woman was into, I was like, I wish we would try to be interviewing this nutcase and taking her seriously about anything. There's nothing about her serious that we need to address. She's seriously mentally ill. Well, Taylor, I'm not for genocide. Taylor's talking about the problem is white people's inferiority complex. The way racism will stop is if they accept erasing their bloodlines from this kingdom. I don't think genocide needs to happen. See, that's what I mean, like becoming like them. I don't subscribe to that. I don't think that that's necessary. And I also don't think it's possible. Y'all, half of us have 15 to 25% white in us. Do you know what erasing the white bloodline would really look like? What would that really look like? How much white is too much? That's the question we're going to have to start asking ourselves. Because when I was on Sonetter's interview the other day, a lot of people were talking and complaining about I was wearing weave and da 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 da, because apparently my appearance wasn't black enough for them. I'm like, this is not only my hair, it's chemical free. Maybe I would come up on the chopping block. Maybe somebody would look at me and go, oh, well, her skin is dark, but look at, she's got some, non-woolly hair stuff going on here. So that would be my thing with that. Plus, we just don't want to become them. Like, we need to ensure that the system is a better system, but we don't want to become psychopaths running around annihilating whole groups of people. Because then how are we better than they are, is the question. Great Black Shark said, you're right, but the cowards and sellouts among us think siding with the dominant society will save them. It has never even once throughout history, there is no space. Well, we can't really worry about the cowards and sellouts because I really think, okay, the cowards, a lot of us are cowards. Like we cannot use the C word, the coward word, period. Because all of us are cowards. Like right now, I'm just going to call it out. We're all cowards. Because if any sizable number of us were not cowards, we wouldn't even be on YouTube having this conversation because this would not be televised. We would be somewhere else. We would be on a street corner somewhere and things would be happening. But since nothing is happening, it's not popping off like that, I would say we're all cowards. So I'm going to back away from the coward thing because, we don't want to talk about cowards around here when we're like literally not doing anything. But I will say, I will talk on the sellouts thing. With regard to sellouts, there are few actual sellouts. A lot of acquiescent blacks, but they only have a little smidgy of sellouts. That's why they keep using the same sellouts year after year. These black people are old as hell. I'm an old lady. A lot of these black people they're still using to manipulate us were like adults when I was a kid. So there's not a lot of sellouts for them to use. That's why they keep recycling them. They have to recycle their sellouts. And they're so happy when they get a new one, they make a big deal out of it. And that person becomes a superstar. That's how, what is the little girl? Candace Owens. That's how she was able to propel herself forward so quickly. Because whenever they can finally get their hands on a younger sellout, because it's not easy for them to do, they milk it for all it's worth. So we have a benefit there. Our people aren't horribly selling out in mass. That's good. But unfortunately, our people are suffering from like coward syndrome. That we're suffering from. Because like I said, and that's not to insult anybody, because I'm including myself in that too, if we weren't actually cowards, this wouldn't even be a conversation. Like right now, I feel like, before a fight, when people really don't want to fight, they have like a whole flipping conversation about each other. Da 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 da, and then the other person goes da 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 da, nah. Then you get up in their face, and you back up a little bit because you're really not trying to fight. I feel like that's what we do. We talk. Who's gonna throw hands? Anybody? Anybody want to take the first punch? Nope. We talk, but that's okay. We'll keep talking until we get past the stage. Like sometimes you got to talk yourself into action. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to talk and talk. You got to work yourself up to wanting to actually be about it. And I think that's the stage our people are in. We're talking and talking trying to work ourselves up to the stage to be about it. I think that, and then the other issue that we have is that we don't want to unify, right? We have the Moors, the Hebrew Israelites, all these different, the Christians, the Muslims, like all these different sects of Black people. We have the ones that are African spiritualists. We have all these different sects of Black people. And we're really good at subgrouping. You know what I mean? Like Black people, we will subgroup to freaking kingdom come. If there is a subgroup, a Black person will find it and join it. But what we don't do really well is we don't have a one big group. We have like 50 little groups. So outside of the fact that we just like to serve a lot of lip service, right? We will lip service it into the dust and beef up and then back down. The other thing that we have a problem with is we need to like have your subgroups, y'all. I'm not about converting people out of their subgroup or bashing people's subgroups or anything like that. But can you be in your subgroup and we still work together? Like, is that possible? Can we just agree to disagree? And then we could fight about it after the work is done? Can we just get to this work? Because at least we agree that there's a problem. At least we agree that we all want to do something about it. So maybe we could just start there and get over like the extra stuff. I feel like sometimes we focus too much on the extra stuff. And we'll be sitting here yapping our guns and hiding in our subgroups, hating on each other for the longest. And nothing will ever get accomplished like that. So we really have to unify. Like that, I think, is essential. I think it really is. Well, I think being privileged and superior are not the same thing. I don't think so. Superior means that something is better. And let's not forget that they came up with that term for themselves, okay? They came up with the term white supremacy for themselves. We didn't come up with that term for them. They were complimenting themselves. We could call, you guys can call it whatever you want. I'll call it degeneracy. I'll call it barbarianism. I don't know. I will think of something where it's negative. Like undeniably negative. You know how sometimes we say that's bad, but we mean that's good? I just don't think this is a term we could do that with. I don't think we can flip-flop this term, especially because a lot of Black people really think whites are supreme. That's why we really can't use the term. Like we could use the term if all Black people didn't believe that whites were actually better than them. But since so many of our people actually believe white people are better than them, that term can mean anything to them. We don't know what it's going to mean in their mind. They already think whites are better. So we have to be careful, like what you may understand and what another person may understand are not the same. So I'm a fan of terms that there's no confusion. If I use white barbarianism, you can't confuse if that's a good or a bad thing. Barbarianism is bad. Being a barbarian is not good. That means you're base. That means you're uncivilized. That means you're not quite human. You're subhuman. Like that, I can't confuse that term. Supreme could go a lot of ways. It could go a lot of ways. If I say that cake was bad, that cake was bad. Do I mean good? Do I mean bad? Was the cake yummy? Was the cake not yummy? Too much confusion. I think words have power and we have to think about that. Thank you, Kenny. I do agree, 1D Forever. We need to unify ourselves. That's essential. We need to stop with these subgroups and this infighting and this stupidity and just be about the work. We could fight afterward. Can we do this afterward? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, can we build the bridge and then we can fight over who gets to drive over it first? But can we just get the bridge up? Like, why fight about something that doesn't matter? How does this stuff matter right now? So we all come over to your side of the fence. We're still going to be oppressed. We'll just be oppressed and all on your side of the fence. Like, why are we having these fights? We want to fight each other when there's a fight that we all have to fight. Even in our subgroups, we're all subjected to one major battle. We are in the middle of a war, having little micro battles on the side. How does that make sense? How are we going to be in a full on war? Missiles are flying overhead, bombs are dropping, and you and I have our little swords out and we're trying to fight, but they're attacking all of us. They did not decide that subgroup A was going to get attacked and subgroup B was going to be safe. They're bombing us all and we're fighting each other. Like, how does that make sense? We could be focusing on the bigger threat, but I would rather fight with you over some petty stuff. That part I don't understand. White men will say all lives matter. I mean, all lives do matter. Let them say it. Sure, all lives matter. The problem is all lives aren't in equal danger. Nobody's arguing if all lives matter. Your life is valuable, my life is valuable, but see, one of us is in more danger than the other. This isn't a question of whose life matters. This is a question of whose life is most likely to be taken. And that's why we have to you have to learn, like, flip the script, like with our conversation with these people. Stop attacking like the stuff that comes out of their mouth and just demonstrate how that's dumb as hell to say it. That's stupid. It goes without saying that your life matters, but you're less likely to lose your life than me. That's the problem. So I'll agree with you. All lives do matter, stupid, but you're not in danger. You know, like, refocus the conversation. We have to stay on track. You know, white people try to come up with things to have you all off track. You forgot why you were having the conversation. You're confused. You're arguing with them over something that is irrelevant. It's like, you know, gay marriage. People are, you know, okay, there's a pastor, y'all. There's a pastor, and I'm not saying I agree with this. I'm just quoting it. There's this pastor. He was like, all these people are arguing about gay marriage. He's like, why are we arguing about whether they get married or not? Again, I'm quoting this. I'm not saying I agree with this. He was like, they shouldn't even be alive. We're starting from the wrong place. I was like, he's like, this is not the conversation. I don't care if they get married or not. I'm trying to be understanding why they're here, period. And I'm not condoning that, you know. All I'm saying, though, is that, like, stay focused. Because, you know, we could get sidetracked in these things that don't matter, you know, because they'll make a little comment and you'll get all caught up in the have you ever been in an argument and somebody did that to you? Totally moved the goalpost into a new field and you're playing a whole different game and you've completely forgot what you were doing because they have sucked you into a new conversation? White people do that all the time. They are like masters at this life. White people are masters at completely redirecting your whole train of thought. You'll be out here arguing about stuff that is completely irrelevant. We don't even care that all lives matter. Like, we're in an entire system of oppression. Arguing with them over whose life matters is not going to count. But making them fearful that their life might be on the chopping block before yours will get their attention. You know, we're at attention because our lives are on the chopping block. Let the roles reverse. See how much rational conversation people want to engage in then. You know, when the shoe is on the other foot, all of a sudden you understand English. You literally cannot get a message out. Killer, you gotta chill. You will not survive in the chat. One of my mods might end up blocking you. And if they're doing that, then you're really wilding out in the chat. You gotta stop. We need to focus on defending what we build. We have the blueprint of history to study the mistakes exactly we made in any liberation movement we had. No more infiltrations. Infiltrations are a problem. But I do think, too, a lot of times Black people will say, well, you failed there, you failed there. Like, but here's the thing. I did a series on revolutions that was not very popular here on this channel because it was completely reading. And what we were reading, white scholars talk about the different ways to control civil revolution. Boring. Some of my content is completely boring from an entertainment standpoint, but completely fascinating from like a mental standpoint. So we were going through all the ways that they control societies to prevent people from engaging in in revolution. And so what they were talking about is that revolutions happen in waves. People keep thinking that because you push back and lose, that means it was a failure. But it's kind of like a baby learning to walk. The baby stands up and then falls, stands up and then falls. Learns a little more about balance and what to do every time they fall. Revolutions are the same way. There's an uprising, it's quelled, it fails. There's an uprising, it fails, it's quelled. But eventually, the revolution can happen. But there has to be persistence and there has to be some understanding of history. And yes, as Great Black said, learning from our past mistakes. If we do that, then we'll get very far. So we don't need to be so hard on those people that came before us that they failed, because that is a part of revolution. Part of revolution is making an attempt and then your attempt fails. And the people just keep trying until they win. That's old saying, try again. If you fall down, get back up. Black people, we get discouraged too easily. It's like, oh my gosh, but that didn't work. And that didn't work. And over here didn't work. And oh my gosh, we haven't done it yet. What's wrong with us? Nothing's wrong with us. It's not like we're fighting a little kid. We're fighting a giant system. Do y'all honestly think we're just going to give this thing one shot and it's going to just fall over because we gave it one good shot? No, it's a process. It's a process, and we need to look at Black history and revolutionary history as a process. And we are still in the process. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And those failures are irrelevant, because you know that saying, you lost the battle, but you win the war. Battles are little tiny fights that go in. But see, there are casualties on all sides during those battles. You learn things from those battles. Your focus is the war. You don't get caught up in the fact that you didn't win every battle. What you do is, like Great Black was saying, you assess history, you learn from that. You assess history, you learn from it, you do better next time, because there's a bigger picture. We got to, like I said, we have to stay focused. I think that's like essential. Hey, Darafil. Yeah, Stephen Scott. Well, I feel like both the Democrat and you guys know that I'm a fan of, I'm a fan of the Black Nationalist Party. I know that one has existed before, but I think we should start the Black Nationalist Party. And it would not be like a separate political party, but what it would do is that the Black nationalist vote would speak for all Black people. So then these Democrats and Republicans, like if we're going to play the game, would have to pander to our party, the Black Nationalist Party. They would have to pander to us, and then all Black people vote with the party. If the party is going to vote for one candidate or the other, we all vote with that party. And then we have subchapters in every state. And we do that for every election. And all of us vote together. That would yield some power as far as like for those people who are into voting. Senalu said, a new mythology must be created for westernized Blacks. Mythology is the heart of a culture. The Jews have theirs, and we have not, and have not been destroyed even after thousands of years. I mean, that might have something to do with when they came into Africa and started conquering the continent, they destroyed almost everything that was there. But we can build a history. Our coming up out of this situation, that story can be our history. We're making that history. And it won't be a myth, though. It'll be the truth. Curtis Majors said, all lives matter, but some lives matter more. I cannot with you. Behave, behave. Okay. Bringing clarity to confusion said, you are now going back to what you said months ago. Some of you were condemning the civil rights movement and Black Power movements. They are all steps to total liberation. Peace to George Macon. Oh, going back on what I said, what did I say bringing clarity to confusion months ago? What are you referring to specifically? When have I ever condemned the civil rights movement? The only thing I said about the civil rights movement, and I stand by this, is that the civil rights movement was an Uncle Tom movement. And all I mean by the Uncle Tom movement is it was a kumbaya movement. The civil rights movement to me was not revolutionary in its action. So maybe we need to define what revolution is. The civil rights movement to me was not revolutionary. I think it was destructive. I think the attitude and the mindset that if we're sweet and allow ourselves to be abused, our goodness will triumph over all. I don't really approve of that. And I don't think that's revolutionary. I don't think there's anything revolutionary about being a doormat until somebody feels so bad that they're treating you like crap or looks so bad that they back down. That part I don't really love. Like, I'm all for love and stuff like that and nonviolence and blah, 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 but like there's a time and a place for everything. The Black Power movements, I don't know that I've ever condemned Black Power movements. A lot of my videos, I play like Black Panther speeches and things like that. So I don't know. You have to tell me what you mean bringing clarity to confusion. Meanwhile, I'm happy to see you. Audrey Love said, the problem with this fight is the majority of Blacks are afraid to fight this evil system, afraid to give up comfort. Truth. That's true, Audrey. That's completely true. You're completely right. Bringing clarity to confusion said, it's always a few that fight. It's never the majority of people fighting. True. That's truth. The thing is that more people will follow if there's a big enough movement. Do you know what I mean? I think probably the most successful post-slavery movement that we had, the two most successful were the coalition between Cuba and South Africa during apartheid, and the Black Panther movement that spread out throughout the world. I think in recent history, those were our two most successful as far as unification goes. But, you know, we can still work on it, but we need that kind of unity. No more Obamas? Well, he wasn't even Black, so. He wasn't even Black. So with that said, Great Black Shark said, the mistakes our elders made during the civil rights movement was that they sought integration and not economic resources. Had they done so and we remained segregated, we would be doing a lot better. I agree with that. That's truth. Okay, so you guys decide. We can do one of two things. I can end this live here, or I can put up the call-in number and you guys can call in so that we can actually talk versus like me just like running my mouth, even though I can rant on. But you guys decide. So if you guys are just pretty much done with the conversation and we don't need to talk anymore, go ahead and put 1. If you guys want me to open up the phone lines, we can put 2. So 1 or 2. 1, we've beat a dead horse, Irene. We'll talk to you next time. 2, open up the phone lines. So you guys make the choice and we'll do whatever it is that you guys want to do. But me personally, I'm tired of talking to myself. So either I'm gonna talk to you guys on the phone or we need to end this live because I have nothing else to say on my own. I came up with, too much, crap. Okay, we have, basically 2s for the most part right now. So Let me open up. Okay. Okay, so I'll open up the phone lines then. And okay, thank you, Kenny. And we'll do like a few calls. But you guys know I love to bake. I haven't baked anything today. I need to bake a cookie, a pie, a cake, a something, a biscuit, something, some bread. I just need to bake. It's going to call. Who got robbed? Oh, you got robbed in a competition. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. I thought you really got robbed, Dark Prophet. I was going to be like, oh my gosh, what is going on in the world? Meanwhile, Dark Prophet, how's school going? Is that going well? How'd you do on that test? Didn't you say you had exams or a test or something? Like, what kind of grade did you get? Just out of curiosity. Did you tell me what grade you got and I forgot? I feel like you might have told me what you got and I just don't remember. Because, you know, I have the memory of an old woman. Like, I can't remember anything, you guys. If I forget stuff, like, don't even hold it against me. Like, the fact that I even know my own name is amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna put the call-in number in the chat, and then if the mods can just keep on putting it in there. Three two three 696 0876. Let's hope that's what I typed. And let's hope that everything goes well with like you guys being able to call in. Because you guys know every time I do a call in, I end up hanging up on people. I'm like so bad with call-ins. It's like not my strong point. But I like to try. I like to try to call. I like to try to have call-ins. Okay, so that's the number. Yeah, I forgot. Oh, okay. Okay, that's dope. That's awesome. Good. I'm glad that's like a good. Those B's though, I have to say, when you get a B, doesn't it drive your grade down? And that could be so frustrating because it like you would think a B wouldn't matter, but it just drives your GPA down. But your GPA is still good. What did you get a B in? Oh, thank you, Winlove. Okay. Now I know after I opened up this line and y'all gave me some twos. Okay, here we go. I was gonna talk smack. Let's see. Hello?
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Oh.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Oh no. Can I do it?
Okay. I've sent the caller a voicemail.
Oh, I'm sorry, whoever called. Just call back. I'm with it now. Call back. Call back. Oh, I think I can call you. Let me call you. I'm calling you back, 404. Just answer the phone because it's me. You should know this though, because you just called me.
Hello.
Hi. Sorry about that. I can't work a phone, apparently.
Oh, hey, it's all good. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yes, I had a question, for you if you don't mind.
Oh, sure.
Really, just
like to ask, like, you know how you hear like a lot of our people today when they start talking about, particular issues involving like race and us like actually trying to pose to get legislation passed, or to protect our people from the dominant society that's killing us. I'm wondering if a lot of these people don't understand that when white allies come around, like I was saying in the chat, we need to direct them back to their communities and tell them, hey, look, you really want to help us, marching with us, and actually coming around us and trying to, like, rallies and stuff, that's not really helping. Go back into your community, go and get these people, because they know who lives in their communities that are white supremacists. Get them, and let's have some Nuremberg trials. If anybody remembers how that went, remember how they had them confess, and pretty much that was justice in my opinion. That's what I was meaning earlier when I said that. So, a lot of us tend to think that, okay, if we're out here marching around with these people, I would ask them, who are you marching to? Who are you marching to? I mean, you're marching to people. I mean, that's been done for years and years and years, and nothing gets done. So, who are you marching to? If they've got the power, which they do, just let them go back and challenge the ones of them in power and actually do something tangible to help our people. And see, when you put their feet to the fire and try to get them to do that, that's when you start getting all the, oh, wait a minute, like, going too far now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
That's pretty much like the question that I had. Like, what do you think about it? I mean, in detail. Is that what we should mostly be shooting for? I mean, our people should be telling them, okay, if you really want to help, you're passionate about it, go and do that.
Yeah, so I mean, I would agree with that. Like I said earlier, an ally, I don't need to see you. Like, we never need to talk to each other. I don't need you to come to me, report on anything. We don't need to collab on anything. I think this is also important to prevent infiltration, right? That's even for those of us, because let's be real, a lot of us have white people in our family. Like, we're not about to hold a conversation about this. Like, if you're going to be an ally, then your job is with other white people. Your job is dealing with your people, organizing your people to correct your people. But as far as you being over here, and I think that's where a lot of us have failed, even the Black Panther movement, they reached a stage where they were collaborating with white working men. You know what I'm saying? Because they were like, we have the same, we have the same issues, da 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 da. And see, that's where they went wrong. Like, you're doing too much at that point. You're bringing in white people, like it's a group of white people, a group of Black people at a Black Panther meeting, and like, no. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that cannot be. So for us to be allies, like, we don't need to conversate like that. Like, what are we going to talk about? Because I'm not the problem. Your people are the problem. So you got to go deal with your people, and we'll do what we're doing over here. And you just make sure that nothing you do crosses what we're doing. Like, nothing you do affects or stops or hinders our movements. And anything that we do, you make sure that your action on the white side is equal in energy and behavior to what we're doing. And that's something, like, we don't even have to discuss that. That should just, be very, very clear. So I'm not about like having conversations with white people. I'm not about like the only conversation we're going to have is for me. Like, if you engage me, like the young lady who was here yesterday, little white girl, all I did was, we didn't get into anything other than me telling you we don't need to talk. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't need to talk. You don't need to explain yourself to me. That's completely unnecessary. This is what a white ally looks like. Go about your business. And that's just for informational purposes, because a lot of them don't know better. But just with regard to, let's have them at a meeting. Let's, tell them what we're going to do. Let's let them march beside us. No, you should have your own marches. It will say a whole flipping lot for only white people to march for Black people. That will say more than you marching with me will ever say. Do you know what I'm saying? So we don't need to march together.
And they know it. And that also brings me to this. Have you ever looked at how, like, when they shoot or kill any of us unjustly in our society, they always come out and do the press conference telling us to stay calm and not to be violent. And I'm like, okay, if you want to do some good, like these mass shooters and what have you, go and talk to them. Go tell them not to be violent. I mean, because black people are helpless. We don't do the things they do. You don't see black mass shooters going into schools. That's one thing I have to give credit to for the so-called Cookie and Ray Ray term. You don't really see gang members going to schools shooting them up like a lot of these white mass shooters have. And see, they always want to run to us talking about forgive. I'm like, no, I want equal punishment, because anytime any of us does anything that doesn't even involve taking a life, what do they call for? We need to prosecute to the fullest extent of the law. That's what they always say. So I believe in equal punishment. That's what I believe. Yeah, I didn't want to take up too much of your time there, but I appreciate your content. So I'm gonna be checking you out from now on, because I've seen you around in Black YouTube, but I had no idea that you have cool subjects like this. That's what we need to be talking about out here. Because I mean, I'm all for having fun and entertainment, but we're at a point in society now where these people aren't playing with us. We gotta be focused. We gotta be on code, and we gotta be about working together, even if we don't agree with one another. Because this is one thing I'll say before I end this call. Even when you don't agree with somebody, if you want the best solutions to come about, you have to throw ideas against each other that might not always agree at first, but when you go back and look at those things, there's pieces to a puzzle there that comes up with a tangible solution that works for the betterment of Black. Excuse me.
Oh no, I wasn't. I was muting myself for them, but I was talking to the person at my doors. You could hear me, but everybody else couldn't hear me. Y'all had muted you, but then he could still hear me. Okay. So no, thank you so much for coming up. And no, I completely agree with what you said. I was trying to, like, while you were talking, I'm also trying to fix the mic so that I can make sure that they can hear you guys a little better. Okay, yeah, for sure. So thank you so much for calling in. Oh, sorry. Look at that. I hung up on you. I didn't mean to do that. So hopefully the next caller you guys can hear a little better, and you guys can tell me if that's the case when the person calls in. But yeah, I agree with that. Like, we don't need, like, we think that working with white people or having white allies means working side by side with them, involving them directly in what we're doing. And I think that's how we get infiltrated. We don't have to talk to them. Their job and their work is not with us as an ally. Like, we don't need to correspond. We don't need to match notes. You don't need to know what we're doing. You do what you need to do. You come up with creative ways to correct your people. And I think that that's the right attitude to have. And that's the attitude we should have when we're considering having like a white ally per se. Okay, so let's see if I could take a couple more calls. I don't know my own call-in number. Can you guys put the call-in number in the chat? Because really, BJ? Oh, you tried calling? Oh, try to call back. Go ahead. Oh, are you the 773 number? Deadshot? So you can call back now, Deadshot. I see that you did try calling. The thing is, I have no idea what to do when somebody else calls. I don't know if I can answer that. I can only do one thing at a time because I'm not that skilled.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2. To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Do it, Irene. Do it. Oh, okay. Oh, I think I got it. Okay. Crap. I'm so bad, y'all. I'm like the worst. I'm going to get better at this call-in thing. Like, mark my words. I'm not the best at it now, but I'll get better. Just give me time. Okay, I'm going to call you back, Deadshot, because I can't mess that up. This is the only call-in show where I call y'all. when I call you. This is the only show where that will happen. Only on my show.
Hello.
Hey, Deadshot?
Yeah, this is me.
Okay.
How you doing out here?
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, I want to say, all right. I want to say the whole white ally thing, that's not for us. We tried that with the Republican Party. We tried that with the Democratic Party. And look where it got us. Absolutely nowhere. The last thing we need is white people doing. Come together as one. Because that's what they're afraid of. Us black folks coming together, and once we come together, they know it's the rap for us. So their best weapon has been to keep us divided and separated, keep us against each other. So the last, no, white allies, no, they can't be trusted. I mean, me personally, I don't trust a white person as far as I can tell.
So you don't even
just,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, so you don't
No,
even
go ahead.
you don't even think for white people who believe themselves to be allies that it's enough to tell them like we're not associating with you. But if you want to be an ally, check your people and just leave it there. And then if they'll do what they do, but we don't have to interact with them directly like that.
I mean, let's look at the past. You know, like back when the so-called civil rights things was going on, you had white people, you know, that was, I guess, feeling sorry for blacks and all this, that, and the other. Bottom line is, when it comes down to it, I truly feel that whites are going to stick with their own. Like, yeah, you know, your kind is wrong, you know, your kind is wrong and bogus, you know, for the action, but you've been taught to stick with your kind no matter what. I work with a bunch of whites, you know, so I see how they are. You know, behind closed doors or whatever, when a certain person got around, yeah, you know, that was wrong and this, that, and the other, but out in the open or whatever, you're gonna side with your race because that's what you've been taught in purpose. That's what then is still inside them. No matter what this person does or whatever, remember, white is always right. And that's what they've been taught. So no, I can't trust them at all. We don't need no allies at all. Again, we tried that and look where it got us.
I think that's I think that's fair commentary. I mean, there is always the risk, but I mean, I guess to me, like there's no additional risk in it because the worst they could do is collab with each other. Like if we're not messing with them, the worst they could do is collab with each other to do the same stuff that they're already doing. But I do see that there could be a danger in blacks wanting to interact with white people who claim to be allies. Like I could see some of our people feeling like, oh, well, they're an ally, so I kind of want to talk to them or I kind of want to associate with them, and that could muddy the water. But I think the zero trust policy, I can understand. I can feel that. I just don't know. If it. Mm-hmm. No, go ahead.
The trick bag is that we've been programmed to think that a lot of us been programmed to think that it's going to take for some white people to help us out to finally get us free. No, if we truly want to be 100% free from all the bullshit that we've been putting up for centuries and decades, we're going to have to do this on our own. Ain't no waiting on a few whites to help us overthrow the majority of white people to help us be 100% free. No, that's bullshit. We're gonna have to do this ourselves without white people helping us. Because again, they can't survive without us. That's been proven. They can't make it without us. They need us. I mean, at the end of the day, they come from us. We want to gave them life, and taught them civilization. Without us, there would be no life. There would be nothing. I mean, it's been so many things that we have created and they stole from us.
True.
So, I mean,
That's
we
true.
have to do this on our own.
That's true.
We, as the black people in America, that have to do on our own, and it's gonna have to start with us. All this back and forth with us finally coming together, because that is a worst nightmare. Us unifying, us black folks coming together as one. I'm telling you, that's their worst nightmare.
I definitely agree with you that that's their worst nightmare. And I definitely can agree that it would be beneficial for Black people to do something that was effectual without a white person being involved at all. I think if nothing else for like the psyche of the diaspora, that would be amazing, because I think so many of us feel that our accomplishments have to be tied directly to white participation on some level. And so just to get out of that conditioning and that brainwashing, I can see how rejecting all white allies could make that happen. But I also agree with you that unity is going to be needed for this thing, or it's just not going to be successful.
Most definitely. I mean, when you have a race that's been in control for so many centuries and so many years or whatever, and you have a few people like, oh, we want to help you. Do you really want to help? Do you really, like, you had all of this power, Father? Do you really want to let go of that power? No, I don't think so. I don't believe that. I mean, you had all this power for centuries and decades or whatever, and do you really want to let go of it? Or you just saying it or whatever just to keep us where we at? You know, so that's something else you got to think about. Once you had that power for so long, I mean, this is why they acted the way that they acted, you know, because, you know, they're dying off and everything, and, you know, they feel like they're losing their grip. When they feel like they're losing their grip, this is how they act out. They start shooting up everybody, start shooting up everything in sight. You know, because, I mean, everything has been handed to them, so they don't know how to handle pressure. Like we know how to handle pressure. I mean, we've been drugged, dragged, and everything else. We know how to deal. We know how to survive. You know, we lose our job or whatever. We're not going to go out here shooting up nobody. We're going to find us a side hustle, whether it's bootleg CDs or whatever, or selling bottles, whatever. We're going to make a way until we can get back to where we were. We're going to make a way. As far as they go, no. They lose their job, it's the end of the world to them. Everybody got to die in sight. You know, they kill their wives, their family, and then they go to their former job and shoot up their former co-workers or whatever. Or go shoot up a school.
Truth. They do fall to pieces. It's why they have such a high suicide rate too. Like even when they don't succeed, they'll just like be ready to kill themselves. They can't take it. I don't think we even realize if we're successful.
No, they can't.
Yeah, if we're successful at unifying and doing something that's effectual and action oriented, then a lot of white people would just fall into despair. They wouldn't even know what to do with themselves.
Yeah. But I do believe this, you know, like you can learn a lot from history, and there was something that the Field of Ash was talking about back in 1805 when the Haitians, you know, when they went up against the French or whatever. And like he said, which I read for myself, before they took care of the white Frenchmen, you know, they sat back and they observed who was the coons, or whatever. They took care of the coons, and then they took care of, you know, the Frenchmen. But they took out the coons first, like, who would betray them. You know what I mean? Yeah, you have black, and I'm not saying going around, you know, like killing black folks, but I mean, it is going to be some black that we're not going to be able to trust. People with the Candace Owens mentality, people like that, people like us.
No, I agree with that. There's definitely going to be some.
You're going to have some black. It's going to be some blacks that's just far gone. That, you know, you talking to them, trying to educate them, trying to lighten them up. You pretty much be beating a dead horse. Like I said, she's a prime example. So I mean, the biggest thing for us is we're gonna have to weed them out and not include them. We're gonna have to treat them as if they are white.
That's, I mean, harsh, but true. Harsh,
Yeah,
but
it's a
true. I think that
realization. I
that's
mean,
definitely a consideration. I definitely can see your argument for not having white allies at all. I see it more from the standpoint because obviously, like I said, when I think of a white ally, I'm like, you don't need to be talking to us. You need to be working with your people over there. We don't need to collab or do anything with each other. You just need to focus on you guys. But at the same time, I think not even embracing the concept of a white ally can be beneficial for our people. I definitely think there's going to be a sector of Black people who are just going to be problematic. But honestly, I wonder if that sector would not decrease, right? If that sector would not decrease when they see us being effectual. Because most Black people that I see are problematic. They're problematic because they're not about crap, right? They essentially want to slide to the side that's going to be the most advantageous to them. And they're basically pets to whoever can actually allow them to have a comfortable life and be in power. And so I feel like people like that are snakes. You can never have them in a position of power. But at the same time, they're not really a problem because they are comfortable going with whatever. And most people are like this. Whoever is in power, that's who they're going to go to and pander to. Now they're dangerous, right? If reestablished power of Black people is ever challenged, but with regard to are they going to be a real problem for us? Like, are they going to be doing something that's damaging to us? Likely not, right? Once they see the tides are turning, they're just going to slide into position right under us too, in my opinion, at least.
I can really come from the I get you.
But yeah, no, I think I'm glad you brought. I'm sorry.
I know. I said that's a possibility. What you just said.
Yeah, but you know, we won't know if we don't get to this work. Yeah, no, that part I understand too. I think, but that's why we need to. Yeah, it was nice talking to you too. Yeah, you guys, I think that's why we have to be about the work though, because we don't really know what's going to happen because, you know, but we're not really fighting. We're just kind of bucking up and talking smack, but we're not really doing anything. So a lot of our conversations are speculative in nature because we haven't really laid hands. We're just sitting here bucking up, talking smack, and that's where we're at right now. We're at the part of the fight where nobody really wants to beef, but we want to let it be known we have a problem, you know? The thing is that do we walk away and then everything stays the same, or do we engage in the little schoolyard fight? That's the question. So yeah, mods, can you put, oh, thank you, Winlove. I was going to ask you, but you already put the number in the chat. So I think that's definitely another perspective. And I think it's a needed perspective. I think it's valid what he was saying, which was contrary to my personal perspective, which is white allies can exist. They just can't coexist with us. They need to exist like over there. Like we're not talking, we're not marching together, we're not dealing with each other, we're not anything. But I can understand too, because Black people already think that any success that we have is dependent upon white participation and agreement. So it would do a lot for the more some to be successful in our own liberation without a white person lifting a finger. I would think that would be very, very very necessary. Otherwise, you're going to have some Black people who are going to still, especially with our conditioning, feel that, and because we even have this now, right? We have Black people that make it like white people are so amazing because they're not holding us back. I was literally on a panel with somebody like this last night. I had to leave the panel. I had some stuff to do, but also I was just ready to go because he was getting on my nerves. Where he was just up there like, white people are amazing. If they weren't amazing, we would all be in jail. If they weren't amazing, we would be in a worse position because they could put us in a worse position. And I was like, do you want to lick the bottom of the heels of the white man's shoe anymore? So when we have people that think like that out there, I definitely think there's an argument for saying no white allies. So you guys, like I said, you guys can call in because y'all chose to have this call-in time. So You guys can call in. Kenny just put then so okay. Hold on.
Now.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2. To accept, press 1. Okay. I sent the caller voice.
Oh, voicemail. No. Well, why am I so bad at this? Like in real life. I'm like the worst call-in person of all time. Like this must make no sense. I am telling you, this is like the only flipping call we're having right now. I'm like the worst at this. Hello? Can you hear me?
How you doing?
Oh, I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm so sorry. You know, I can't send you a voicemail, but that was not intentional. What's up? What's your name?
Yeah, my name is Darnell.
Hi, Darnell. So what do you have to say?
Yeah. I just want to say, a lot of the black people who we think are with us, they're not really with us. If you go back, you remember what happened to Monique. Remember, even a lot of black people were dragging Monique, even though to me she was mostly right in what she was saying. You had the black gay community. None of them stood next to her. Nobody stood up for her except a few of us. I think that's how it would be if shit hit the fan. All these black people who we think would stand next to us, they would be missing in action. And as far as white allies, we shouldn't even be considering that, because I know even the good white people I know, white friends of mine, they didn't like it when I became a manager. You know what I'm saying? A couple of them really couldn't stand it. And the ones that did stand it, I could tell that, they say I changed, but I don't think I really did that much. You know what I'm saying? But I could just see, we're not going to have no allies. And we also do need to look at history. We can look at what happens to neighbors, even the ones that went along with white supremacy. A lot of times they were just slaughtered. When the white people got tired of them, they were just slaughtered. So no, we should pick relationships. Relationship, and you always keep that in mind. So you're never going to have an ally that wants to see you. They really want to see us equal to them on a financial level. Don't even mention ahead of them. Thank you.
Okay, that's solid. Thank you for calling in. And that's kind of the argument that the other brother was making too, which is that one, I will agree we have no real allies out here. Like I'll agree with that. But that's kind of the argument the other brother was making too, which was just
Did we get cut off?
no. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you guys hear me in the chat? Hopefully you can. Okay, so yeah, he was kind of the same mindset as the other brother, which is that we don't have allies out here and that it's problematic to include white people in any way, shape, or form, even at a distance. But he was just more on the side that they are vindictive and they're hateful when you're actually accomplishing things. And I think that's definitely true. That's definitely true. That's even what the historical accounts tell us. The historical accounts tell us that white people don't want to be in direct competition with Black people. It makes them violent. This is what white people say of themselves. I just referenced back to that book that I was talking about in my video about A White Doctor Tells the Truth. And you guys can go to that video and download that that small booklet that was published in a medical journal with regard to white positionality when it comes to Black people. So he brings up a valid point that even historically white people have said of themselves. So I think, yeah, I can't really argue with that. That's true. I don't know if you guys could hear all of it, but hopefully you heard most of what he had to say because he was pretty to the point with it. Okay, so you guys, let's take a couple more calls and then I'll call it a day. And the call-in number, it looks like When Love has put the call-in number in. It's 323-696-0876. And we can take a couple more calls before we close out this conversation. Can white people be allies? Okay, so my baby said, my man said, white all lies. That's what he has to say about this. White all lies. Like, there are no white allies, according to my man. But, you know, this is a man who doesn't even want white people in his home, okay? He doesn't love white people. He's not trying to mess with white people any more than is absolutely necessary in life. So he called them white all lies. So he would be with the last two brothers where no white allies at all. Well said. We can't even ally with biracials, but we want to ally with whites. Valid. Many biracials are not our allies. So, I mean, I can't argue against that. I cannot. That's a valid argument. Again, the call-in number is 323-696-0876. If anybody else wants to call in, I'll probably take like 1 or 2 more calls, unless you guys are done. If y'all don't want to do the call-in anymore, because you guys chose it. So if you guys are kind of over the call-in, then we won't take any more calls. We can wrap it up. But I'll give you guys a few minutes to decide if you want to call in or not. It's crazy because I have been so bad at managing this. That's absolutely crazy. Y'all, I'm going to get this call-in life together. I really am. Where I can take a call-in and it's going to be a smooth shit. But I rarely do call-ins. So that is why. But I have to say, I don't know, have the brothers swayed my position that I had at the beginning of this, which is that there could be white allies. They just need to stay the hell away from us. They could just be over on their side taking care of things. But it's not the other man's fault, but the Black man. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, why don't you call in and tell me just what you mean by that? Because I don't know what you mean. Oh, I interpreted you slightly wrong. What do you mean I interpreted you wrong? I don't know what you mean, well, that I interpreted you wrong. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Okay, well, I think you guys have called in all that you're going to call in, so I'm going to wrap up this conversation. But I will say, was I swayed by the two brothers, the last two brothers' arguments of like, no white allies at all? That's also my man's position. I can understand that argument. My thing is that I feel like a lot of times when people say white allies, they think like there's somebody that's going to be in, you know, cohorts with us. I don't really see it that way. I feel like these white people who feel they're not racist, they feel they're liberal, they feel all this and that. When they come and approach us to work with us or to petition our cause, we could just send them on their way and tell them, deal with your people. That's how you can petition a cause for us. It's like, deal with your people and leave it at that. Now, if they, flip, if they have a problem, that's not our issue then, because we're not messing with them. They're not in our meetings. They're not marching with us. They're not doing anything with us. So I think that the risk is low for Black people because we're not collaborating with them. I'm not for white collaboration. Like, I'm not for holding conversations with white people on what they're going to do and how we're going to make this work. And I'm not for all that interaction. Like, we don't need to interact. A white ally does not have to talk to a Black person. We don't need to have a conversation. If you're serious about it, you could go over there and you talk to other white people who are like-minded, and you guys do what you could do over there. But as far as, dealing with us, I don't think that that's really necessary. So I hear what the brothers are saying. I feel like, if white people feel they want to do something, I'm not about to stop them. Like, they could do what they want to do. They could do it with their people. And I feel in that way, it has nothing to do with what we're doing. But if a few white people want to get together and handle some of their own people, that's less racist whites that we have to worry about. So, you know what I'm saying? It could just be, a happy happenstance if it goes down. So I wouldn't discourage that. Just like they don't discourage Black people turning on other Black people, I don't think we need to discourage them turning on each other. Like, fan the flames. If y'all want to fight over us, please do. Let that happen. That would be a change. So with that said, I'm going to get out of here and I will talk to you guys later. Thank you for those of you that called in. Thank you for the conversation in the chat. You guys had so much amazing feedback. And thank you for making me think about that too, because that's an aspect of it I never thought of. I always thought of white allies as, can we trust them? I never thought about it from the perspective of, would it be better for the Black psyche for white people to not be a part of anything in any way, shape, or form? Because we're already so indoctrinated to believe that we need them. So that's something fresh and new that's on my mind. And so I do appreciate that being brought up. So with that said, I'll talk to you guys later.